Hi folks, welcome back to the Amazing Education channel, and it's the most important information for your life, and that's going to benefit your future and the people on the planet, and people if people manage to live in the future. This is the most important information. So subscribe, make comments, share the videos with other people. It's really the only way to have a good future is the advice that I'm going to give and that I do give on my other videos. So watch the other videos, please. We've got a noisy, polluting truck here. Oh my gosh, look at that. Terrible. Luckily, we're moving to electric, and we're going to be reducing the population by having smaller family sizes. And it's going to improve things over what we have today, which is poisoning the planet with these noisy diesel trucks. And as I said, moving to electric, but more importantly, reducing the population on the planet, because everyone creates trash, pollution, they poop, they create sewage, they heat their spaces and cool their spaces. For some reason, it's a little bit mysterious how we can't even handle the temperature during the days and nights. Yet we've evolved on this planet, and we need clothing, and people believe they need air conditioning and heating instead of just living in reasonable places, which is what we'll have to do in the future to be sustainable. So we have far too many people. That's why you find yourself living, people left Africa where we could survive without extensive heating and cooling. People lived in cool caves and huts and so on, and had shade during the day. And then we went to places where if you don't burn coal and poison the environment with the heavy metals that coal creates in the atmosphere, that rains down on the land and water and poisons everything with mercury and lead and other heavy metals. If you don't do that, or burn wood or whatever, which also creates pollution and causes cancer, you will not survive. So it's just human beings are animals, okay, and we want to survive, and we have children, and those children want to survive, and they'll do anything, including poisoning the planet in an unsustainable way where everyone can get sick, health can go down, health can decrease, and we can end up with just a disgusting, polluted planet if we don't manage to control ourselves. And right now, we have not managed to control ourselves. This is a warning that we need to move to sustainability. And I say we will, because you have to look on the bright side. And some countries are moving in a positive direction, and some people are moving in a positive direction. And we need to do more. And once people realize that we need to make laws to prevent the pollution and enforce those laws, then suddenly we'll see, okay, we can't destroy the planet. So one thing I'd like to talk about that will give you path if you're in government or if you're a student and you want to work in the future. You can just pass these ideas on, but if you can take action, that's wonderful. But for example, why do we have air pollution and water pollution, especially the oceans, to the point now where breathing can give you cancer? Eating fish from the oceans can make you sick with mercury and other things that are man-made poisons that will cause disease, hurt your thinking, and so on. Why do we have this? It's because we don't have ownership of air, and we don't have ownership of ocean water, so that somebody who's getting their air and water poisoned, they can't sue the manufacturers or the polluters at this point. So it's just a matter of laws and regulations that say, oh, please don't do this. But at the same time, the general public, through public utilities like coal-fired power plants and whatnot, still go on poisoning the water and the air, as I detailed. It doesn't matter, it could be nuclear power, okay? It's heat causing too much heat and creating nuclear waste. It could be oil-fired power plants causing air pollution. That's bad for you. I mentioned coal before. There are, many different ways. Even we're still going to continue heating the planet, even if we move to renewables, so-called sustainable situations like the solar power, and people talk about geothermal. In other words, digging down into the earth and getting the heat from there. Well, then we're, solar power, those panels get hot because they don't reflect back into outer space. They're dark colored, and so it's trapping the heat and then heating people's homes. And even when you use electricity, heat is generated. So we're keeping heat that normally would radiate back to space. The main issue is we have too many people, and we're doing unsustainable amounts of use of energy. So we're living in cold places. We're living in places where, for some people, it's too hot, and so they use air conditioning and other means. And so basically they heat up their cities or their houses, or, and in general, the climate does change naturally over time. We're still exiting an ice age. There's no doubt about that. So you can't 100% blame human activity, but we can. It appears that we're greatly speeding up the blanket effect, the growth of the blanket of the atmosphere. If we had no atmosphere, we would be at the temperature of space on the dark side of the planet, roughly, and at the temperature of an unprotected sunshine on the bright side of the planet all the time. It would be crazy, insane, but luckily we have the atmosphere. But as we increase the atmosphere by burning things, we have more of a blanket, and it keeps us too hot, too warm, and it doesn't look good. Humans, we just have to stop the emissions. So smokestacks, and we basically need to outlaw emissions like smokestacks and tailpipes and things like that, where you turn a solid into a gas, pretty much. That's really what we need to do. Unfortunately, it might go to a situation, you could say fortunately, we could move to a situation where even burning firewood to, have a nice fire, you may need a permit, and it might be a very limited situation. And to the point where, it's just a tiny fraction of what would naturally occur with, say, forest fires or other things like that. And when we move back into an ice age, thousands of years in the future, then we can say, oh, you know what, it's getting so much colder, and it's time to, maybe allow some emissions again. But, considering the pollution that comes with burning things, we would have to be very careful to scrub and remove the toxins and pollutants before allowing, a greenhouse effect to occur by burning when the earth is getting colder. So we have cycles, moves from ice age to warm ages, and a lot of it has to do with volcanic activity in the past, and we might have more volcanic activity in the future, and then we're seriously going to warm up. And there's great evidence that, for example, the Antarctic, the Arctic probably was just water during the time of the dinosaurs, and I don't know, what was it, like, say 100 million years ago, 65 million years ago was the end of the dinosaur age. But and the Antarctic as well was, I don't know if it was tropical, and you could argue the Antarctic wasn't at the South Pole at the time that it was warm. and that's possible. But so then maybe the South Pole, you could say that maybe there was no ice down there in the past. And then go back even further, and the whole planet, some scientists believe, the entire planet was covered in ice. And due to atmospheric conditions and perhaps a lack of CO2 and maybe a lack of oxygen. So we have to be able to handle these things. But right now, we're causing far too much pollution. It's unsustainable. The growth of the number of people on the planet is unsustainable. You can't have unlimited people in a limited space. So that's why, excited people want to move to Mars. They want to move to other places. And if they can handle living there where the gravity isn't right, living on the moon or Mars or something, gravity's not the same as Earth, I would be surprised that people could healthfully reproduce and survive. I'm not saying it's impossible. I said I would be surprised. Okay? And anyway, so it was very, very interesting. And please, as I mentioned, share these videos, subscribe, like, comment, because it's really the only way that we can wake people up to these facts. They're so complacent. They think like, oh, if we just get renewable energy, wind energy, and solar power, that's enough to solve our problems. But actually, no, it's not enough to stop climate change. And in fact, as I mentioned, climate changes by itself as well. So really, we're causing it to increase much, much faster than it would otherwise. As I said, we're actually increasing the height of the atmosphere because we're burning solids and it turns into gas. And where does it go? It can only go into the atmosphere. So we're creating a thicker blanket, just like putting a blanket on your bed. It's going to keep you warmer. It's going to keep the planet warmer. So we're making a huge mistake. And people don't see that growth of the population as it is right now, close to 8 billion people, is a huge threat. And we could run into, sort of like a wall where suddenly, we don't have enough land, enough food, enough clean water, and it will be a disaster for those, as it is right now in certain places where they don't have enough food, they don't have enough water. And you could say, oh, but that always happens everywhere around the world throughout history. Well, but it could get really, really bad. It could be just huge disaster, wars, another world war. And with our technology, we could make the planet virtually uninhabitable. Billions could die. And it looks like we're really headed that way. And we need to do a serious turnaround, very serious turnaround, and get back to a lifestyle where you don't drive anywhere. You can walk, okay? And as we reduce our family sizes, things will become cheaper. We get rid of all these buildings and we allow the extinct species won't come back, but we allow the species that have survived to have natural land to live on again, instead of look at all this development. It's, in a way, it's fascinating, it's beautiful, but when you think this is destroying our chances of living, so is it really the good way? We're heating these buildings, they don't get natural breezes and sunlight many times because it's indoors and closed off, and so this kind of living is just unsustainable. And not to mention concrete is heavily polluting. It's very energy intensive. So we just have far too many people. We need to get about to 1/8 of what we have right now. Maybe 1 billion people might be the maximum that the Earth can handle in terms of people living in a sustainable way in places where the climate is good, so that we don't need unsustainable energy use and so it's going to improve everything, and it will make living will be cheaper, healthier, because people will be walking, not driving and riding. And we need grocery stores and workplaces within a 15-minute walk. So we have to, you may not know that we have zoning right now that says, oh, you can only build stores and commercial areas in a certain place. And, you know, other places are only for houses and living, which for noise, that's why we've done it. But we can just get rid of the noise, control the noise, and make walkable towns. Maybe even maybe we should be outlawing huge cities. And if you think it's impossible, there are national parks where they say, okay, no more development. The people that live there right now, yes, you have your housing and whatnot, but anybody that moves away, you can't build any new structures. If somebody leaves and a house is abandoned, then we're going to turn it back into a natural area. So we could do that wherever we like, and just say, okay, no more development. That's it. It's too polluting. It's too dangerous. Okay, so I'm going to end the video right now. Please follow the advice to have a good future for yourself. Okay, take care. You can take action. You have to be creative. Okay, think about it, and do legal things. Don't violate human rights. Okay, thanks. Okay, bye.